I 28F need to share what's happening with my family because I'm still in shock over their behavior. I'm the financial director at a major tech company in Seattle, and I've worked incredibly hard to build my life. I own 2 properties, my current residence downtown and another apartment in Bellevue where my younger sister Sophia 24F has been living rent-free for the past 2.5 years. Let me give you some background on our family dynamic. Growing up, Sophia was always the favored child. While I was studying finance and working unpaid internships, she was getting caught sneaking out to parties. When I got my first promotion, she was getting cited by police for disturbing the peace at Alki Beach. Last year, when I closed a major deal at work, she decided to become an influencer and maxed out our parents' credit cards buying $5,000 worth of camera equipment that's now collecting dust in their garage. Despite all this, I've always tried to support her. I've paid for her car repairs, covered her credit card debt twice, and when she and her fiance Ethan 25M needed a place to live, I let them stay in my Bellevue apartment completely free, no rent, no utilities, nothing. I even gave them $35,000 for their wedding, which is happening in 3 weeks. Last week, I received a text from Sophia, family dinner tonight at mom and dad's. Important wedding stuff to discuss. I assumed they needed more money for some ridiculous addition to the wedding, like the ice sculpture they'd been talking about. I had no idea what was actually coming. When I arrived at my parents' house, something felt off. Mom, Dad, Sophia, and Ethan were huddled in the living room, speaking in hushed tones. They went silent the moment I walked in. Throughout dinner, the tension was palpable. Mom kept refilling wine glasses while Dad made awkward small talk about his golf game. Finally, as Mom brought out dessert, Sophia cleared her throat. "We need to discuss your wedding gift," she said, looking unusually serious. I raised an eyebrow. "I thought the $35,000 I already gave you was my gift." "Well," Sophia said, glancing at Ethan, then our parents, before turning back to me, "we've all been talking, and we think there's something specific you should give us instead." I waited, fork suspended midair. "Your apartment," she said. "The one in Bellevue where Ethan and I have been living." For a moment, I thought they were joking. But the serious expressions on their faces told me otherwise. They actually expected me to give them my $450,000 property as a wedding present. "You can't be serious," I said, putting down my glass. "I already gave you $35,000 for this wedding, not to mention you've been living in my apartment rent-free for 2.5 years. I don't even make you pay utilities." That's when things got ugly. Sophia's face flushed with anger, and she exploded. "You think you're so perfect with your fancy job and your 2 apartments. You're selfish, Catherine. All you think about is yourself." I stared at her, stunned by the sudden outburst. But what happened next was even worse. "Your sister has a point," Mom said softly. "You're successful, you have another apartment. Sophia is getting married, starting a family. This would be such a wonderful gesture." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Gesture? I've been supporting Sophia for years. How am I the selfish one here? Because you're hoarding all this property when you don't even need it. Sophia shouted. "Look at you, 28, alone, married to your job. In a few years, no one will even want you anymore. At least I've found love." I looked at my parents, expecting them to intervene, to tell Sophia she'd gone too far. Instead, they nodded along with her words. "Don't be greedy, Catherine," Dad said sternly. "Family should come first." I felt like I was in some sort of twisted alternate reality. "I can't believe this," I said, my voice shaking. "I've worked incredibly hard for everything I have. Do you have any idea how many hours I put in to afford those apartments? How many years I spent paying off those mortgages? Oh, please." Sophia rolled her eyes. "You just got lucky with your job. Some of us have to work in the real world." That was rich, coming from someone who'd never held a job for more than 6 months. Lucky? I worked my ass off through college, did unpaid internships, worked 80-hour weeks to get where I am. Meanwhile, you've been living off me and Mom and Dad. How dare you?" Mom snapped. "Your sister is trying to build a life with Ethan. They want to start a family. They need stability. And what about my stability? I shot back. You want me to just give away my property? Property that I worked incredibly hard for? That I'm still paying the mortgage on? We could help with the mortgage, Ethan spoke up for the first time, his tone condescending. Once we get settled, start our family. Absolutely not, I cut him off. The apartment isn't for sale, and it's certainly not a gift. In fact, given how you're all acting, maybe it's time you found somewhere else to live. The room erupted in chaos. Sophia burst into tears, Mom started yelling about how I was tearing the family apart, and Dad slammed his hand on the table, demanding I stop being difficult. I grabbed my purse and stood up. I'm leaving. This conversation is over. You'll regret this. Sophia screamed after me as I headed for the door. You're going to end up alone with nothing but your precious apartments. I slammed the door behind me and practically ran to my car. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the ignition. Once inside, I broke down in tears. How could they do this to me? How could they treat me like I was nothing more than an ATM with an apartment to hand over? The next day, I could hardly focus at work. My phone kept buzzing with messages from my family. Mom, Catherine, please be reasonable. Your sister needs this. Dad, call us immediately. Your behavior was unacceptable. Sophia, you've always been jealous of me. You're just bitter because no one loves you. I turned off my phone and tried to focus on my work. But by the end of the day, I knew I had to check my sister's social media, she always airs our family drama there. Sure enough, there was a post. Sometimes the people who should support you the most show their true colors. Heartbroken that my own sister would choose material possessions over family. Guess some people will never understand what really matters in life. The comments were flooding in. OMG, what happened? Family should always come first. So sorry you're going through this. Sophia was responding to everyone with vague, dramatic statements about toxic siblings and choosing money over family. She was controlling the narrative, making me look like the villain. Then I got a text from my aunt, Catherine, what's going on? Your mother called me crying about how you're refusing to help your sister. I didn't respond. What could I say? That my entire family expects me to give away my property worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? That they're emotionally blackmailing me because I said no? But things were about to get much worse. The next day, I decided to check on my Bellevue apartment. When I arrived and tried to use my key, it didn't work. They had changed the locks on my property. I pulled out my phone and called Sophia. After several rings, she answered with a cold, "What do you want? Why are the locks changed on my apartment?" I demanded. There was a pause, then Sophia laughed. Actually laughed. It's not your apartment anymore, Catherine. It's ours now. Have you lost your mind? That apartment is in my name. I paid for it. I own it. Not for long, she said smugly. And don't bother threatening to call the police or sue me. We both know you'd never take your own sister to court. Catherine. The line went dead. I stood there, staring at my phone in disbelief. My first instinct was to call our parents, but I knew they would never take my side. They never had. Back at my apartment, I poured myself a large glass of wine and sank onto my couch. My mind raced with possible solutions. I could call the police. I could sue them. But would I really want to see my sister arrested? As I contemplated my options, my phone dinged with a notification. Sophia had posted something new on social media. Against my better judgment, I opened it. My stomach dropped as I read her post. With heavy hearts, Ethan and I, along with my parents, have decided not to invite my sister Catherine to our wedding in 3 weeks. Someone who doesn't behave like family doesn't deserve to be present on our special day. We look forward to celebrating with our real loved ones who understand the meaning of family. The post already had dozens of comments from relatives and family friends, most expressing confusion or asking what happened. Sophia wasn't responding to any of them, leaving everyone to speculate. Almost immediately, my phone started ringing with calls from aunts, uncles, and cousins, all wanting to know what was going on. I ignored them all. What could I possibly say? That my sister demanded I give her my apartment as a wedding gift, and when I refused, my entire family turned against me? I turned off my phone and finished my wine, then poured another glass. The situation seemed surreal. Just 24 hours ago, I was just a woman going to a family dinner. Now I was being publicly shamed by my sister, 2 weeks before her wedding. As the initial shock wore off, something inside me hardened. They thought they had the upper hand, that they could bully and manipulate me into giving up my property. They were wrong. If they wanted to play hardball, I could play too. But I needed to wait for the right moment. I had some planning to do. Update 1, I've been quiet until now because I needed to make sure everything was in place. What happened yesterday during my sister's wedding needs to be shared. After my family's attempted property grab and the lock change incident, I spent 2 weeks meticulously planning. First, I consulted with my company's legal team about my rights as a property owner. They confirmed what I already knew: changing locks without the owner's permission is illegal, regardless of family ties. I contacted John, a locksmith I knew from when I'd locked myself out of my downtown apartment last year. I need a special favor, I told him. Meet me at my Bellevue property on Saturday at 8 a.m. The current occupants changed the locks without my permission. He agreed without hesitation. Next, I reserved a storage unit near the apartment and hired professional movers, giving them very specific instructions for the wedding day. I also documented everything: photos of their social media posts, screenshots of text messages, and recordings of their threatening voicemails. Yesterday was the wedding day. I knew the ceremony was scheduled for 2 p.m. at the Salish Lodge, which meant everyone would be busy with preparations all morning. At 7:45 a.m., I parked around the corner from my Bellevue apartment, heart pounding. John arrived precisely at 8. "You sure about this?" he asked as he approached the door. "Absolutely," I replied, showing him my property deed and ID. "I need to reclaim my property." Within minutes, he had the door open and was installing new locks. I stepped inside, and what I saw made my blood boil. They had completely redecorated without my permission. The walls I'd painted a neutral grayish were now covered in bold wallpaper. My custom blinds had been replaced with gaudy curtains. They'd even removed some of my furniture and replaced it with their own pieces. The movers arrived at 8:30 a.m. sharp. I directed them methodically through each room, having them pack everything that belonged to Sophia and Ethan. Clothes, toiletries, electronics, their furniture, everything went into boxes. My hands were shaking, but my resolve was firm. At 9:45 a.m., my phone exploded with notifications. One of Sophia's bridesmaids had apparently driven by the apartment and spotted the moving truck. Within minutes, I received a barrage of calls and texts. "Sophia, what the hell are you doing?" "Mom, Catherine, stop this immediately." "Dad, you're ruining your sister's wedding day." "Ethan, I'm calling the police." I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I forwarded them all to my lawyer, who was on standby. He immediately sent each of them a formal notice about illegal lock changes and unauthorized property modifications. By 11 a.m., everything was packed and loaded. The movers headed to the storage unit while I supervised a professional cleaning crew. My phone kept buzzing incessantly. "Sophia, you evil witch. I'm getting ready for my wedding and you're destroying my home." "Mom, how could you do this to your sister on her wedding day?" "Dad, this is unforgivable. You're no longer our daughter." At noon, I took final photos of the cleaned apartment and installed security cameras. Then I composed a message to Sophia. "Congratulations on your wedding day. Your belongings are safely stored in unit number 456 at East Side Storage. Access code is 7753. You have 20 days to collect everything. Since you're now married, I'm sure you understand it's time for you to find your own place to live. This is the only wedding gift you deserve." I scheduled the message to send at 6 p.m., right when I knew they'd be starting their reception. Then I went home, poured myself a glass of champagne, and waited. At 6:01 p.m., my phone exploded again. This time, I simply turned it off and ran a bubble bath. For the first time in weeks, I felt completely at peace with my decisions. Around midnight, curiosity got the better of me, and I checked social media. Sophia had posted a tear-filled rant about her psychotic sister, who ruined her perfect day. But something interesting was happening in the comments. People were asking questions. Wait, did you try to take her apartment? So you were living there rent-free and changed the locks? You expected her to give you a $450,000 property? The tide of public opinion was turning. My cousin Rachel, who'd always been close to Sophia, messaged me privately, just heard what really happened. Can't believe they expected you to give them your property. For what it's worth, you did the right thing. This morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls and over 200 text messages. I haven't read them. Instead, I contacted a property management company to start preparing the apartment for proper tenants, ones who will actually pay rent. My aunt called, and I actually answered. Your mother's hysterical, she said. Claims you've ruined everything. Did she tell you they changed my locks and tried to steal my property? I asked calmly. A pause. No, she left that part out. I thought so. I just received an email from Ethan's father, demanding I fix this situation immediately. Apparently, they had to cancel their Maldives honeymoon because they now need money for a rental deposit. The irony would be hilarious if it wasn't so sad. Some might think I was cruel to do this on their wedding day, but I disagree. They chose to exclude me from the wedding. They chose to change my locks. They chose to try to steal my property. Actions have consequences. I have a meeting with my lawyer tomorrow to discuss restraining orders. Based on the increasingly threatening messages I'm receiving from my family, I think I'm going to need them. For now, though, I'm sitting in my downtown apartment, enjoying the peace and quiet, knowing my property is secure and my boundaries are finally, firmly in place. Sometimes you have to lose a family to gain your self-respect. Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since the wedding day incident, and everything has changed. I'm here to share how justice was finally served. First, let me thank everyone who supported my last post. Your comments helped me realize I wasn't wrong for protecting what's mine. Now, let me tell you how I turned the tables on my entire family. The day after the wedding, my lawyer sent official cease and desist letters to Sophia, Ethan, and my parents regarding their defamatory social media posts. But that was just the beginning. During our evidence gathering, we discovered something interesting. The $5,000 camera equipment Sophia bought wasn't just on my parents' credit card, she had forged their signatures for multiple credit applications. My lawyer confirmed this was credit card fraud. I anonymously reported this to the credit card company's fraud departments. Within days, my parents received notices about unauthorized accounts and pending investigations. Suddenly, they had bigger problems than my cruelty on the wedding day. But I wasn't done. Remember how Ethan claimed they could help with the mortgage? Turns out, he had been bragging at his workplace about their plan to acquire my property. I sent a detailed email to his HR department documenting their illegal lock change and attempted property theft. His company, a real estate firm, took a very dim view of an employee attempting to illegally seize property. He was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Then I discovered something even better. My parents hadn't just enabled Sophia's spending, they had been writing off her influencer expenses on their taxes, claiming her failed social media venture as a home business. I forwarded all documentation to the IRS, including proof that no actual business existed. The real bombshell dropped when my aunt Dad's sister called me. I need to tell you something, she said. Your parents took out a second mortgage on their house to fund Sophia's wedding. They told everyone you refused to help with wedding costs, but I found out you gave them $35,000. I hired a forensic accountant. The results were shocking. My parents had been lying about their finances for years, using their home equity to support Sophia's lifestyle while guilt-tripping me for money. They had even taken loans in my name when I was in college, which explained some discrepancies in my credit history. I had my lawyer send them a letter detailing everything we'd uncovered, along with a demand for full repayment of all unauthorized loans. Mom's response? She had a nervous breakdown and posted on Facebook about her ungrateful daughter destroying the family. The post backfired spectacularly. A family friend who works at their bank commented, "Is this about the fraudulent loan applications?" Before mom could delete the post, screenshots were circulating in our extended family group chats. Sophia tried to do damage control by playing victim again, but I was ready. I posted all the evidence, the forged credit applications, the tax fraud documentation, the illegal lock change, everything. Her influencer dreams imploded as her followers watched her carefully crafted image crumble. Ethan's family has now cut all ties with Sophia and my parents. Apparently, they don't want to be associated with confirmed credit fraudsters. Their perfect wedding has become a symbol of their downfall. My parents are now under investigation for tax fraud and loan fraud. They've had to hire their own lawyer, who advised them to cease all contact with me. Dad's golf club suspended his membership pending the investigation. Apparently, they have strict policies about financial impropriety. The karmic justice feels incredible. Every flying monkey they sent my way has backed off after seeing the evidence. My cousin Rachel hosted a family dinner last weekend. Nobody invited my parents or Sophia. I've donated all their belongings from the storage unit to charity after the 20-day notice expired and am having my Bellevue apartment professionally renovated. The property management company has already found potential tenants who, unlike my sister, understand the concept of paying rent. As for me, I've never felt better. Sometimes losing toxic family members is the best thing that can happen to you. They thought they could bully me into submission, but instead, they lost everything: their reputation, their social standing, and their financial stability. The best part? I didn't have to do anything except expose the truth. They destroyed themselves with their own actions. Next update will share some positive changes in my life. For now, I'm enjoying watching karma do its work. Remember, family doesn't mean you have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Update 3, it's been 6 months since my last update. I've waited to share this because I wanted to see how everything played out. The results are more satisfying than I could have imagined. Let's start with my parents. The IRS investigation devastated them. Found guilty of multiple instances of tax fraud and loan fraud, they faced severe penalties. Dad lost his CFO position. Financial crimes don't look good on an executive's record. They had to sell their house to pay back taxes and penalties, moving into a small apartment in a less desirable area. Their social standing is completely destroyed. Mom's been removed from all her charity boards, and Dad's golf club membership was revoked. Dad, at 58 with a fraud investigation on his record, can only find part-time consulting work. Their retirement savings are depleted by legal fees and penalties. Mom spends most days at home, too ashamed to face her former friends. Sophia and Ethan's marriage imploded after just 4 months. When Ethan lost his real estate job attempting to steal property doesn't look good on a realtor's record, they started blaming each other. The final straw came when he discovered she'd taken out credit cards in his name. He filed for divorce and moved back with his parents. His family hired an aggressive divorce attorney to protect their son from my sister's financial misdeeds. Unable to move back with our parents, Sophia now shares a studio apartment with 2 roommates and works as a barista, her first real job ever. Her influencer dreams died when her followers discovered her fraudulent past. She takes the bus to work, having lost her car to repossession. Last month, my parents attempted to reconnect through a tearful email about healing the family. The real reason? They're hoping I'll help them get back on their feet financially. My lawyer responded with a reminder about their fraudulent loans in my name and a warning about legal action if they continue contact. Now, for my life update, because it's been amazing. I received that promotion I mentioned, becoming the youngest chief financial officer in my company's history. The board specifically cited my strong ethical principles and unwavering integrity in their decision, deliciously ironic. The Bellevue apartment has been renovated and is rented to a professional couple who actually pay their rent and respect boundaries. That income goes straight into my investment portfolio. But here's the best part, I've found real love. While focusing on my career, I also expanded my social circle through hiking clubs and photography classes. That's how I met James 32M, a software architect who shares my passions. Unlike my family, he admires my success and independence. We met photographing eagles at Mount Rainier, and 6 months later, we're living together. His family is everything mine wasn't. His mother hugged me when we met and said she was proud of how I handled my family situation. It takes courage to stand up to entitled people, she said, even when they're family. Last week, James and I put a cash offer on a beautiful modern home with mountain views, thanks to my investments and savings. Meanwhile, my sister can't qualify for a studio apartment lease without a cosigner. The extended family has completely switched allegiance. I'm now their go-to for financial advice and career guidance. My cousin Rachel's daughter is interning at my company. I'm mentoring her on building a career with integrity. Yesterday, I drove past Sophia's coffee shop. She was behind the counter in her standard issue apron, looking tired and angry. I didn't go in. Instead, I drove my new Tesla to my office, ready for another day of running a successful division at a Fortune 500 company. Sometimes I wonder if they reflect on how their greed led to their downfall. Mom and dad in their cramped apartment, their reputation ruined. Sophia making minimum wage with roommates. Ethan living with his parents, his career destroyed. Meanwhile, I'm thriving. My career soars, my investments grow, and I'm building a beautiful life with a wonderful man and his loving family. I have real friends who value me for who I am, not what I can give them. The best revenge isn't just living well, it's living spectacularly while your enemies watch their world crumble, knowing they did it to themselves. To everyone who supported me, thank you. To anyone facing entitled family members, stand your ground. You might lose toxic family, but you'll gain something more valuable, self-respect and real happiness. Life is good, and it's only getting better.